Hello everybody and thanks for joining me. Today I'm tying another classic North Country pattern, the Old Master. The hook I'm using is a size 12 and the silk will be this grey ashy colour from Auvers Soie, their ephemera silks. To rib the body I'm going to be using a heron herl and I'll scavenge that from a heron feather. These are intended as spay hackles from Cookshill. If you can't get hold of heron, grey goose is an excellent substitute and much easier to get hold of. For hackling on this fly, I'm going to use a woodcock undercovert. These nice greyish brown barred feathers from underneath the wing makes for a lovely soft spider hackle. So getting started, I've waxed my thread lightly, drawn out the first 12 inches or so, lightly waxed it and then rolled it back onto the bobbin, and that's going to give me plenty of grip. I've cast on my thread, made 3 loops to secure, and then I'll trim away. I prefer to trim away my silks early when I'm tying spiders, especially if I'm going to be tying a rib down the length of the body. And that's just to try and avoid building up too much bulk along the body. Wrapping backwards in even touching turns, we'll secure down our heron hackle, stopping midway between the barb and the point of the hook. Break away the excess herl, and then returning forwards, wrapping even turns, just lay down a nice smooth bed of that grey silk. Makes a beautiful combination with the greyish brown of the hackle, and that grey heron herl ribbing really adds a lot of life to the fly. The herl is a fairly fragile material, so just take care as you're wrapping. I'm going to use my rotary vise. You can do it hand over hand. Just make sure not to put too much tension on, and be ever so careful to avoid the hook point. This will break in an instant if you're not careful. There's a bit of contention about how densely to wrap the body on this fly. The earliest recipe I could find from Pritt's North Country Flies simply says that you should wrap the body. Now, I'm not sure whether he's intended that to mean wrap like you would for a coachman body with peacock herl, for example, making quite a dense one, or rib with open turns. I've split the difference, made loose enough wraps that I can leave a bit of that silk showing through, but made enough that it still adds some shape and some body to the fly. Either way, once we've finished wrapping, couple of tight turns over the top and snip away. I've prepared my feather by grasping it by hackle pliers by the tip, drawing back the fibres that I want, and then stripping away the fuzzies from the base. Adding a touch of extra wax here onto my already waxed thread just to make sure that we get a really good grip on our hackle. I'm going to hold it with the tip pointing forwards, make 3 tight turns over the top, and that's all I'm going to need to hold this down really securely. A lot of tying spiders is about economy of thread wraps. They're such simple flies that there's really no room to build up any extra thread wraps. You'll notice very early on, especially because the silk builds up very quickly. It's a fairly thick thread. So just be economical, trust in the thread, trust in the wax, and above all, just be gentle with the materials. These hackles in particular are quite fragile, so taking care. Not putting too much tension on, I'm just drawing back the fibres and wrapping that clockwise around the hook shank, and because we tied it in with that natural dish shape pointing away from ourselves with the tip pointing forwards, of course if you're tying it in tip forwards, have that dish pointing towards yourself, that's going to orientate the natural curve of those fibres towards the tail of the fly. Aiming to build up a nice umbrella shaped hackle. So, with my 2 wraps made, and I've made 2 wraps here, this is a fairly sparse feather. You could do 2, could do 2.5, you could even do 1 if you want a really lightweight mobile fly, but this looks right for me. Drawing the excess forward, snip away the stem, and then we can whip finish. 3 turns is enough to hold it securely down and build up a small head at the same time. I think I did 4 there, just make sure it looks proportionate. Now you'll notice I've got my window open whilst I was tying this. It's been a blisteringly hot day, but look how that hackle's moving just in the light breeze through the window. It's ever so supple and mobile. Adding a small dab of wax to the knot, just to secure everything down, and here's a look around the finished fly. We've got that nice umbrella shaped hackle, very mobile, very supple, and that slightly fuzzy body, giving the impression of gills or nymphy bits. What a lovely pattern. Hope you've enjoyed this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.